Good to go?
I'm ready.
Got your water?
Let's do it.
All right, awesome. Mr. Dan Woods, thank you so much. Dan, I think you are the first double-digit guest that we've had on ParkerCast. We've had our second guest, we had our fifth guest, we had our sixth. You are our 10th guest. This is episode 10.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's a good honor.
Yes,
So I
sir.
am here with Mr. Dan Woods. I think most of Parker County knows Dan from Tailgaters BBQ, but as we can see with the pin, you want to show you got that beautiful
Got a little bit
you got
of flair.
I love that.
as they
You got
call
some
it.
swag going.
Yeah.
You got some flair. Dan Woods for Weatherford School Board, Place 4.
Place 4. The
Yeah.
only one that's being
Only one
contested.
that's open. Yep,
Yeah.
only one that's open. So I think I spent 6 years Weatherford School Board Place 3. I used to know it like clockwork, but I totally forgot it now. But it's not Place 4. I know that. But okay, so before we get into that, because I do want to talk a lot about Tailgaters. I want to talk about the school board run, but I do want to get a little bit of history, a little bit of origin for folks that don't know you. You are a big personality on social media, Facebook. Facebook loves the Tailgaters posts, loves whenever you go live. I mean, you are very sincere. You are very authentic. When you post, Dan, it's a lot of, like, you can almost sometimes feel your pain when you're like, oh, my God, I've been up this late. I've done this. I dropped this. I spilled this.
Sure.
So, I mean, we want to know a little bit more about you. So where do we come from? Where did it all start, et cetera?
So I'm born and raised Weatherford, Texas. I'm 6th generation Parker County, crazy enough. And
Sixth generation?
spent most of my life trying to run away from Weatherford and then got drawn back very quickly. So I was raised by great parents. My mom and dad, my dad was assistant county fire chief, and then my mom worked in the nursing home world forever. My grandparents were super involved. My grandmother pretty much was the founder of Meals on Wheels here in town. And
What was your
worked for
grandmother's name?
Nadine Murphy. Kenneth and Nadine Murphy, great folks. Everybody either knows me by them or my mother, one or the other.
Nadine Murphy.
Nadine, yeah.
Nadine Murphy. All
Yeah.
right. Founder of Meals on Wheels.
Yeah,
Love
well,
it.
she was with him forever, right? So she was definitely the
We'll
pillar
say the
there.
de facto
Yeah,
founder.
she was the
facto
pillar there for a very long time.
Love it.
And like we were very involved in our family, whether or not you wanted to be or not, we were involved.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't feel that way when I was young. I just kind of, honestly, I didn't know it. We went and helped people. And as time grew on, I tried to run away from it, right? So I'll never forget. My dad died when I was 11, right? And as any young man,
Your father passed at 11?
my real dad, Mark Woods, died at 11. My mother got remarried, and they opened a bookstore, did things, but that wasn't my vision in life.
Mm-hmm.
So I was ready to run away as fast as I could.
Where did they open a bookstore?
So we were originally in College Park,
Okay.
and we were there for several years. Ended up moving to Palapena Street, which is now a tile store. But yeah, I mean, that was he had the idea of selling fireworks, which we did for years. I mean, we built stands, we did all those things, and then we also sold books in the off season in tents
Okay.
on Army bases, Walmart parking lots. We ended up opening the bookstore, and so me, all my friends, everybody worked there, right?
Okay.
Any small business, right? You're trying to build a business. And that taught me a lot. Now, looking back, I learned a ton. But at the time, I hated it. I wanted out. I wanted to move as far away as I could. So I'll never forget.
And when are we? What's the time frame here? Are we the 90s? Are we,
Sure.
are
So
we
my
in the
dad
early
died in
2000s?
95.
With the
and-
bookstore?
Yeah, so my dad died in 95. We probably opened the bookstore late 90s.
Okay.
And I moved. When I graduated high school in 2003. Moved to Houston.
Graduated Weatherford ISD?
Yeah, Weatherford ISD,
Weatherford
2003.
ISD, class of 2020. Okay.
And we were the school where I was the class that everything grew with us. So we opened up the new high school. We changed where we went from elementary school to intermediate school, back to elementary school, back to junior high,
Oh, geez.
into high school.
Did
closed
you ever
campus.
spend any time at what is now the 9th grade center?
I went to high school there, so I was there 3 years.
You were there 3 years, but the new high school opened up, and that's where you graduated from?
The second semester of my senior year, we went to the new high school. And
Oh,
basically
wow.
we put together,
So are you the first graduating class of the new?
technically, yes.
Technically.
So we put together computer labs and did all the things. I still had
Well,
to
thank you
drive.
for your help.
Yeah, I had to drive back to the old high school for auto tech. I mean, it was a hot mess for sure. They just wanted to get it. We were supposed to have opened it, is from what I understood, but ended up being our second semester. And I mean, we had open campus most of our lives, and then we didn't. So it definitely made a lot of people upset. But in the end, at least we got to see it.
Yeah.
It was definitely a spectacle. It was not a school that was around at the time. It's big. I mean, it's what it
yeah.
was.
There's
sure.
some big ones that have opened up over the last decade or so in surrounding suburbs. But man, I think Weatherford still holds up as we're a 6A. I mean, this is a big high school.
So what I learned recently, 252 square miles or whatever. People don't know that. Weatherford thinks Weatherford is inside of the loop, right? Like we're small, like as people think, but it's big. The ISD is big.
It is.
Real big. And that's something I learned fairly
And
recently.
long.
Yeah, super long.
Isn't that
Easily.
odd? Like we are totally way down in Granbury.
Yeah, Granbury,
And
Hazel.
we go way up high. Yeah, it's very weird. Okay, so you're there, graduate high school, one of the first graduating classes.
Sure. So I had a fella come to Auto Tech and said, "Hey, I got this great opportunity. You're going to go be a mechanic, make $100,000 a year, all these things."
I'm in.
But
I'm in.
I knew I was not college material. I knew it. I mean, I struggled in school. So I went from ninth grade making AB honor roll. I advanced really quickly to sophomore year failing, and it was just personal things. Like I couldn't motivate myself until somebody came and sat down with me and was like, "You're not going to graduate high school unless you get your butt in gear, right?"
Who sat down with you?
It was a teacher. I don't remember which one it was. I remember there was a couple that were like, "You're smarter than this. Like, you got to get your butt in gear." So I had a lot of influential teachers through life. I think that's part of where I am now is when my dad died, I had a couple teachers come out and like really spend time with me as I grew. I mean, I can think of 4 or 5 right off my head that were great teachers. Mr. Trammell, I was terrible in
Cliff?
English. Yeah, Cliff
Yeah.
was very influential to me.
Yep.
I'll never forget. I had him in 8th grade, and that was like his first year, right? And then he moved up to 9th grade, and so I was football, all the things, and in 9th grade they found a heart murmur in me, and I had to quit football. So I had to change all my schedule, and Cliff had one regular English class, and I got transferred to that. And I'd never forget, I'm walking down the hall, and he's standing there, and he goes, "Who'd you piss off to get me twice?" And I was like, but he literally taught me more about English than any person ever taught me.
No, in my years on the board, I realized real quick, you understand who are the teachers that are positively affecting the students.
Sure.
I mean, not just on paper, winning awards or whatever, but like who do the students really actually dig and love the most? And I could say 4 or 5 right now, but Cliff, before his retirement, I mean, he was always in that top 1 or 2, always. And that's 2013 to 2019.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're talking, this is early 2000s. And
Yeah, this was probably 2000.
Yeah, nope. He was definitely, he was a motivational guy to a lot of people, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and he was just, obviously I hated English, and so when I moved out of his class after 2 years, I definitely struggled for a hot second to figure out like what it was like outside of there. But anyway, I ended up realizing that this wasn't my jam, and was like automotive was great. I loved automotive, so it was something that I'm ADD, so if something I can focus on and do it, I'm going to do it. And so I kind of set my parents up, had a guy show up to the bookstore and say, "Hey, you need to sign this paper. Your son wants to go to UTI."
Smart, okay.
And I was kind of worried, right? Like I didn't know what they would take about me not actually going to college. And it worked out. I mean, we went down to Houston, saw the campus. I think my mom kind of realized who I was.
Okay, so so you're going off to school, but you're not going to college. You're going to an auto tech?
Yeah, I went to an automotive school.
Okay. And
So-
how long did we stay there?
I was there a year and a half, like 18 months.
Okay, loved
And
it, hated it?
Loved it. Well, at the time I loved it, right? So I'm a small town kid from Weatherford that gets dumped into Houston, Texas with no parents, no guidance. There was what the difference between college and UTI was there was no counselor, there was nobody, right? They would say find your own housing, do the things, find a job. So it was different. Like I'll never forget the first day I was there. This fire truck comes blowing through our little, because I was kind of the north side of Houston, so it wasn't quite as crazy as it could be. I was in spring, but this car wouldn't let him by, right? And then they gave him the old bump pass move and was out the window giving him the shake fist. And I'm like, where are we at? Like,
You're
this
in
is
Houston,
yeah,
bro.
this is the whole nother world. And I ended up loving Houston. Obviously, I'm not there now, but it was definitely something that taught me a lot about life,
Okay.
which I feel now is part of what college is anyway.
So then fast forward, Dan. So we're auto tech. We're doing this for, I think your bio is a decade and a half, 2 decades
20 years.
almost. 20 years.
Yeah, I spent pretty much 20 years. So I had automotive straight out of high school. I worked through college as automotive, went all the way through. I worked for, ended up quitting. When I went into automotive, worked for a custom Jeep shop that didn't work out, went to Mercedes, worked there about 4 years, decided I was going to hang out with a Texas country band for a couple of years, still did automotive on the side, went full-time into kind of the different world, more of like we did everything, right?
Okay.
So it's independent world, and we worked on everything from 92 Biscayne all the way up to the brand new ones.
Okay, so you're getting some exposure to the business world. You're in the private sector, not the public sector.
And
you're understanding some of the, hey, we got to make this stuff work, profits, losses, etc. What's going on?
yeah, you're firsthand. So as a technician, you're more contract than people really realize, and you're buying your own tools. You're having to make payments. You're doing all the things, and that taught me a lot. Also, being from parents that had small business, that taught me a lot. And so, about 2012, I realized that I wasn't going to be a mechanic the rest of my life, just because 2008, the bottom fell out. And mechanicking was extremely difficult. People could buy a car cheaper than they could get it fixed. And so I needed a hobby. And it was smoking barbecue.
Wait, we're getting into barbecue now?
Yeah, we're going to make that turn.
So like 08 to 2012, the bottom's dropping out. I'm not going to do this the rest of my life. It just so happens we're doing some hobby work.
So kind of back up a little bit.
Okay.
My dad cooked barbecue
Okay.
as a hobby. Right, so we would have a family reunion. He'd cook a brisket, or like some of my best memories was sitting in the backyard at the picnic table. We'd cook pork chops or whatever. I met my wife, and we would swim in her pool all the time. And her dad would just throw a chicken on, throw some ribs on, or whatever. In school, we were poor. We would go buy 50 pounds of pre-marinated chicken, and we'd split it up with all of us. And we went and bought this little grill. Everything in my life.
Love pre-marinated meats.
Yeah, we would go to
Love it.
So down in Houston, there was Spanish type meat markets, and it'd be $1 a pound for chicken quarters.
goodness.
Yeah, we could all live on that.
Yeah.
So that's what we'd do. We'd go buy 50 pounds. We'd all throw our money in, buy 50 pounds of that, and that was what we eat. And we invented the meal prep, by the way, if anybody wants to know.
Okay. I was just talking to my daughter about meal prep.
Yeah.
Okay. You invented the meal prep. Okay.
So anyway, that was kind of the jam. Like in my life, barbecue has always sort of followed me.
Okay.
That was like the best memories. Boy Scouts, whatever it was, cooking over open fire has always been my thing. It's kind of my zen. So my wife was working weekends all the time as a nurse early on, and so I would sit outside and just burn wood and then buy a brisket and try a brisket, and this went on and on and on and on. And I don't know. Probably 2013, I watched a show called Barbecue Pitmasters, which probably most people have
Yeah,
seen.
I've seen, yeah.
And it struck chord with me. I was like, that's something that I want to do. I want to compete in barbecue, right? So that was kind of my mission. And being who I am, when I have a mission, it's like, I'm going to learn all I can learn about it. I'm going to do it until I can't screw it up.
It's called being goal-oriented.
Yeah, sure.
No, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, to be goal-oriented. Sometimes you don't stay in the goal. You pivot afterwards. But to be goal-oriented, you want to do something, you want to accomplish it, you want to go get it.
And so I did. I learned a ton about barbecue. I talked a ton about barbecue. And that was how I was in automotive before. It was like I read all the magazines. I did all the things. This is really before YouTube was a big thing. So barbecue was tough to find stuff on, right? I would find bits and pieces and read cookbooks and try and error, and then kind of figured it out. So the funny story about brisket is I tried and couldn't get it right. And everything you read was you got to cook it to 195 degrees and all this. And I fell asleep one night and woke up, thought I'd overcooked my brisket, let it sit out, cut it the next morning. It was amazing.
It was the best brisket ever.
And I realized that I'm undercooking these briskets.
Ah.
And that was kind of the huge turning point in my life. So we went from not knowing how to cook a brisket, or not consistently knowing how to brisket, to figuring out how to like narrow it in and be consistent every
So
time.
there's a trade secret there. So we're
Yes.
saying what's the ideal temp? And
To
for
me, so everybody says 203. To me, I cook it to 210. And I know that people freak out about
for how
that.
long?
So barbecue's a funny thing.
Okay.
There's three major things that you have to do in barbecue. And you're not going to hear this anywhere else, I promise you. You wrap on color, pull on tenderness, and let it rest.
Boom.
And it sounds simple.
Wrap.
Wrap on color, pull on tenderness, let it rest.
Okay.
And it's the deal is where you're cooking to the color or the bark you want, you're wrapping it, and you're cooking it to the tenderness you want. And I found that the hotter you cook, the shorter amount of time, the higher the internal temperature has to be.
Okay.
So if you cook it 225, you can obviously pull a little bit lower internal temp. I still would cook it to 205, or at least 205. But you'll know. When you've felt a brisket that's done, you'll never screw it up again. Because you know it. Like, once you've felt that, when you take your probe and stick it in there, you know. And so that's kind of how it is. Like, you just learn by feeling.
How many have you cooked?
Oh, man.
Thousands.
Easily. I mean, we cook 25, 30 a week, typically. Sometimes more if it's a big catering.
So what other meats are we? Well, hold on. So I want to talk about barbecue. This is great. So, I want to wrap this up. The origin story is great. Spend a lot of time on it. This is awesome. This is you, Dan Woods, and I love it. So we're now 2020. We're making a pivot. We're leaving the auto world.
Yeah.
We're out of the auto world.
2019, huge barbecue season for us. We go competitive barbecue. We had a great year. My brother was super involved. We're traveling, and me and my brother said, hey, it might be time to look into this. And we were kind of already doing some catering, and I'm at work on the internet because I hate my job, and I find Panther City Barbecue selling their barbecue trailer.
Oh.
And I text my brother and said, this is it. This is what I've been looking for. And he's like, go look at it.
Okay.
So I text him. Chris says, well, unfortunately, it's already sold.
Oh, no.
And I said, well, that's a bummer. Let me know. Right? I'm crushed. I thought this was it. I'm a big guy of
calling
when it's right. It's
sign.
right.
There's
yeah,
a sign.
I'm big on that. And if it's not right, it's not right. So I'm like, well, maybe this isn't, maybe this is not what we're really supposed to do. 2 days later, I get a call. Dude backed out last minute. Right? My brother had left to go to Austin for huge Austin City Limits. So he's down there. He's the money of the game, right? I'm just the brains, I guess you would say. The brawn. He's the brains, I'm the brawn.
There you go.
And so I tell him, I said, hey, can you hold it one more day? I promise I'll come tonight, come look at it, show I'm interested. That's the deal. All worked out. Ended up, we got it. COVID hit. We pivoted, ended up doing crazy things for a long time.
But you got the trailer.
We got the trailer.
From Panther?
From Panther City, which originally was Himes.
Okay, so talk about, this is Panther City, but it was originally the Himes
So
trailer.
Himes opened up in 2014 at a bar.
So that's your trailer right
Yeah,
This
that's
is
me.
the original Himes. Then it's Panther City.
Yeah.
Now it's Tailgaters.
And there was a vegan somewhere in there,
Oh.
which has a bullet hole from them, apparently. In the ceiling.
Very apropos. Very apropos. Okay, so we got these three
Yep.
previous owners. How did we get to, we might be fast forwarding a lot, but how do we get to being a locally known spot right outside of Annabella?
So we got the trailer. COVID hit. We bounced around. The city wouldn't allow us. And this is kind of where Tarbay comes in. Is the city wouldn't allow me to have a trailer, and we worked in a lot of gray areas. And I pushed and tried and called, and people got annoyed with me. But I'm like, we got to be able to open a trailer daily in Weatherford. And I'll never forget, I got a phone call from somebody and said, you need to meet Josh.
we did meet.
Yeah.
I think on Shep's, right?
Yeah, at Chef's on the patio.
Yep.
And he handed me a piece of paper and said, you need to go get a permit tomorrow.
Yep.
And I did. And I was permit number 1. And I remember I asked you some hard questions. I don't know if you remember this. I asked you some hard questions.
You did. You were asking there. I like to consider myself smart also, but there was 70% of them I knew, 30% I'm like, oh, I don't even hear. These are really good questions.
Yeah.
This is you've done your research,
Yeah,
you've
sure.
done your study, and you knew what was going on in Fort Worth and Austin and Houston, and
Yeah.
And Weatherford was not quite there yet.
No,
so
they were
we
nowhere
didn't have
near.
all the answers.
And that's which is fine. And they're not. What I know about them now is they're definitely getting there.
Oh, yeah.
And I understand it. Like,
And if they're not there, I believe firmly they're trying to
Sure,
get there. And I
100%
think
they
that
are.
means as much as being there, if you ask me. They're not trying to not be there.
exactly. I'm very good friends with most of the board,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all very good people, and they do a lot for me. And believe me, they have made it so that I can do what I do,
Mm-hmm.
100%.
So we're at, we got to talk. We're here sitting here in Northside Remedy.
So this is where I started, actually. in
We
Weatherford.
share, co-owners and friends, Montana, Emily, great
Yeah.
people. So how did we get in with them? How
So
did that-
Montana and I went to high school together. We didn't really have a great relationship, but we knew each other.
She's a punk. No, I'm just kidding.
And she had asked me to do their. I had actually reached out to her and said, "Hey, anytime you want to do some kind of collab, let's get it." That was before that was not going on at the time. Like there wasn't collaboration of any kind, especially not food trucks. And then she messaged me out of the blue and said, "Hey, I know you got this food truck. I know you're trying to make something happen."
She's
And-
innovative, man.
Sure,
She's
100%.
super smart. Like she sees stuff that we don't always see. I mean, she knows what's going on.
And we did their 5-year anniversary at Antebellum. And that was like our first cool deal. Well, then she was like, "Why don't you do brunch at Northside?" So we came up here and did brunch for a while. And there was a very unhappy person across the street that never could open their spot. And they kind of ruined that for everybody.
Okay.
And so we ended up chasing a dream for a while. Things that, I'd get a phone call from the city and say, "Well, you can't park on the grass. You can't park here. You can't do that."
Well, because the city is, as you know, I don't want to necessarily defend them.
No, they were
but,
fine.
But they weren't there with all the regulations
No,
that would have
yeah,
allowed it. So if you
100
don't have the rules that allow it, you have to enforce the rules that don't allow it, which is kind of a tricky spot to be.
No, and believe me, I was working in the grayest of gray areas.
There you go.
And I don't, nothing they did.
envelopes are made to be pushed.
Sure, and I did. And that's
Okay.
why I always say was like, "Well, show me in writing." Well, we don't have it in writing. Well, then that's not a rule.
Yep.
And that's kind of where I always was. I was like, "Well, you can't do that." Well, why? Well, you can't. Well, show me. And that's how it kind of went.
You got to do it's your livelihood,
Yeah.
man. I mean, you got to do it.
And so it worked out. And then Montana calls me and says, "Hey, we're going to reopen from COVID at Antebellum. Do you want to be part of our food sales?" Because at the time, state was allowing food trucks to show their sales towards bars. If you don't know in Weatherford, you can't be just a bar, right?
Yeah.
So you got to be a private club, or you got to be able to show so
Food
much
sales.
revenue from
Yep,
food.
yep.
So she asked me, and I said, "Yes, I'm ready." So I went to my wife that night and said, "I'm going to quit my job," and she said, "I knew it was coming."
Oh man.
And
Wife, I'm going to quit my job.
yeah,
Ugh.
and so
That was a tough conversation. No.
to me, it wasn't. I was ready.
Okay. To her.
To everyone else, 100%. My brother thought I was crazy. My mother thought I was crazy. I had done all this research. I'd done all these things, and they didn't see that. They just thought I was some fly off the cuff guy, and I knew what I was doing. I knew that we had a good product. I knew that if I worked hard,
Got a great product. Dan.
we would do it.
Yeah.
And it just took me showing people. And it did. And it's still a grind every day. Like, we still show every people. I mean, it's small business, right? You're going to always be there. And end of the day, I love what I do. I love being in Antebellum. I love the community. And that's kind of where we got now. That's where I'm at now, right?
Bellum has a great vibe. I'm partial to the Northside Remedy vibe.
Sure.
No, I'm
I
just
love
kidding.
Northside. I love Northside. We come here all the
I'm
time.
kidding. I'm joking with you. Bellum's great. We went St. Patrick's Day yesterday. It was Bellum for a couple hours and then Northside for a couple hours. We're loving life with these two spots. They're the best. Antebellum opened up all of Weatherford, if you ask me. I mean,
100%.
I was trying to figure out if I'm going to open a brewery, or me and my buddies want craft beer, this new thing called craft beer, and then Antebellum opens up. And it was like one of the movies where the angels are singing, and it's, oh, I mean, it's just absolutely. I personally owe her as a craft beer lover, thank you for
Sure.
doing what you did. So,
100%.
And then to have the foresight to bring you guys in has just been absolutely awesome. But I don't want to. Gotcha. We're into our last couple minutes here. So one of the big reasons I asked you on is for what we've done, Dan. We want people to get to know you. But it's also you are now deciding to make a big move. One I myself did, and many others. You're running for public office. You want to serve at a greater level than just at the business side of it, running for Weatherford School Board Place 4. This upcoming election is April...
So
May.
22nd through the 29th, early voting. May the 3rd is actual the day of
Okay,
voting.
and you're running for Weatherford Place 4. A couple
Yes.
other candidates, all
Sure.
good people. We're
Definitely.
not going good or bad. We're just saying a little bit about you. So what made you want to run for this?
So my daughter went to school, and we got pretty involved, right? Like, I felt like we were just normal parents, which apparently I don't know if that's necessarily true now, but watching what we just were involved, and I kept hearing the same things over and over, that they felt like they didn't have an advocate there. We needed this, we needed that, and so it just felt like the right move to me. I have that community, like, people know who I am, right? I'm not hiding anything, and I felt like I had that window to people to see me and be able to get a vote for that. And I feel like that I can make a change. And we're not trying to make huge changes. We're just trying to make sure that we have a goal for 10 years, 15 years down the road. And I've done that with,
Well, and you and I want to highlight this. You and I spoke a little bit off camera, and you were very impressed with Weatherford.
Sure.
Love Weatherford.
Believe me,
doing great things.
I came in a little skeptical. I spoke with people, did a lot of research, got on the facts committee, and it's in a lot better shape than 99.9% of what's going on out there. 100%. I mean, they've done a great job of paying down debt. They've done a great job of putting us in. We haven't built a school in a long time. And,
10 years?
Something that's funny, it's been, 10 years for elementary schools. The funniest thing I've heard Bo Reese say was when he came in, somebody said, "Have you seen the new high school?" And he said, "Where's the new high school?" And, high school's 23 years old now.
Yeah.
And but in Weatherford, we see it as a brand new high school. And I feel like the public doesn't necessarily connect with what's going on in the ISD. And that's no fault to anybody other than us. We're not involved enough.
But you feel like you can help that as a board
I
member.
hope as a community person, I can bridge the gap between the board and the community. That's the biggest thing. That's where I'm at. Because I hope I can, as you said, I'm active on social media. I'm trying to be out in the public. I've always been out, done all the things. So I'm a very approachable guy. It's hard not to find me. If you want to find me, you come to the trailer. I'm there.
Well, as somebody who's ran, I appreciate you putting your head. It's not putting your name in the hat. Probably wasn't an easy decision.
No.
You knew that when you signed that application, it's like, oh man, I could get some heat. I could lose some Facebook followers. I could lose. It's a tough decision,
Sure.
and I really do. I've been in this camp. We're now in a small group. I've ran,
Sure.
and it's not always easy to do. So I definitely commend you for that. As we finish, we got what's the family size? We got a daughter.
I have a daughter and a son,
Daughter and a son.
and my wife.
Any closing, as we finish up, any closing words of wisdom for our daughter and our son?
I appreciate everything they've let me do, and I love being with them. They've been great to me. Like, I was not a man that thought I was going to be a family man, and my daughter turned me into a family man for sure.
Love it.
So,
Couldn't have said it better myself. Dan Woods.
thank you, sir.
Thank you, brother.
Yep,
Appreciate
sir.
it.
Thanks for having us.